Tired of wasting time and money while waiting for the hot water in the morning? Today we're going to review the Watts 500800 hot water recirculation pump. And since this is a smart home channel, I'm going to share how I save energy by connecting this to my home automation setup. Stay tuned. Hi again, John Stone, the DIY smart home guy. I get pretty tired of waiting for hot water whenever I'm trying to wash my hands or take a shower, especially in the winter months when the water is ice cold coming from the tap. And in my opinion, dumping gallons of water down the drain is not an effective water conservation strategy in drought-stricken areas. According to various sources, the average household wastes between 10,000 and 20,000 gallons of water per year just waiting for the hot water to flow through the pipes. That's almost 40 years of drinking water for the average person. And since I've lived in desert states for the past 30 years, it's in my brain to believe that just pouring water down the drain is a bad idea. On top of that, I figure that I wait a minimum of 3 to 5 minutes per day for the water just to show up. And if I stood around waiting, which I don't, that would add up to somewhere around 24 hours per year just waiting for the water. That's a full day just running the water and not doing anything with it. So to help save water, my affordable DIY solution is to install a hot water recirculating pump. There are a few on the market, but I chose the Watts 500800 model. I left a link in the description below. This solution requires no new plumbing to your home, which makes it the perfect solution for the DIY guy or gal. So here's how it works. In a standard plumbing setup, cold water comes into the hot water heater from your well or city service. When you turn on the shower, the hot water travels from the tank to the shower. Unless your shower is pretty close to the hot water heater, the hot water must push the cold water out of the pipes. Pretty straightforward. The Watts pump installs here on the hot water side of the water heater. Over here, on the furthest sink away from the water heater, you'll install a special temperature-sensitive check valve. When the valve detects that the hot side has dropped below the specified temperature, the valve opens and pushes the water from the hot water line back to the water heater through the cold water line. Once the hot water reaches the check valve, it closes again. This prevents hot water from filling up the cold water line. It's important to point out that if you have a water softener system, this will push the soft water into your cold water line, which is something you may not want to do, so this solution may not be for everyone. And like I said before, since the pump uses the existing plumbing, the hot water recirculator installation is pretty simple. In most cases, you should be able to do this in less than an hour. According to my research, the hot water recirculator costs about 5 cents a day or $18 a year to run. Per my calculations, you're paying just under 20 bucks a year to keep from pouring roughly 15,000 gallons of water down the drain during that same period. You also have the added benefit of having warm water whenever you want. Oh, and that $20 a year is if you leave the pump running all the time. Since this is a smart home channel, that really just doesn't work for me. I want this connected to my smart home through my Wink Hub. To achieve this, I'm plugging this into a smart outlet. In this case, I'm using the iHome Control ISP5. I bought the iHome ISP5 for about 25 bucks at my local Home Depot. And once I synced it into my Wink Hub, I was able to create a series of triggers that are tied to motion sensors around my home. When the desired motion sensors detect motion, they start the pump. And after the last motion sensor stops detecting motion, the pump shuts down after about 30 minutes. This does two things for me. One is that it allows me to save even more energy by not running the pump when it's not needed. The other is the obvious benefit of having hot water ready anytime I'm at home or moving about the house. To install the check valve, get access to the water valves under the furthest sink from your hot water heater. Turn the valves off. You're going to want to double check that they're off by turning the sink faucet off. You want to insert the rubber grommets onto the size adapters, making sure that the flat side is down and the shape side is facing out. You'll need the adapters on the top side of the check valve. These will allow the water to flow out to the sink. The supplied water lines will connect the water valves under the sink. It'll be helpful to install these first. The valves connect to the inside of the check valve. Make sure that the new water lines already have the grommets installed. Okay, so when this is all done, it should look something like that. They do give you a way to mount this to that back wall. I have some funky angles going on my faucets. So right now, just to test this out, I'm going to leave it as is, get it all tested out, make sure we're good. And then I may come back in and readjust those valves there. But that is that. So on this side, you're on the hot water heater. Typically, you've got the cold water is going to be the one with the valve, comes into your water heater, and then the one with no valve going out is one not. If you got a valve on both sides, what you're going to do is you're going to go inside, you're going to turn on your hot water, and then you can come back out and feel the cold water would be cold to the touch and the hot water would be hot. Once water's flowing, that cold water is going to come in, cool down the pipe, and then it's going to go back out and heat up that pipe. So that's another good way to tell. So then you're just going to put this straight in line. You really can't mess this up because it only is going to go in one way. If you have this gas furnace ducting, you're going to want to just keep it a little bit away from that. You've got the timer over on the side, which I'm not going to use because I will be plugging this into a Z-Wave module. And I laid this dry paper towel down, and I've got a little bit of a water drip, so I know that I don't have that completely fixed. To test this out, what we're going to want to do, now that that's plugged in outside, is we can shut off this cold water valve here. When it's turned off, and I've tightened that up, I've solved my leak. If I come over here to the cold water valve and I get water out, that means that that water is flowing through that hot water side. So that means that pump is pumping. Now that the pump and the check valve are installed, I have warm water waiting at my faucets 24 hours a day. As I mentioned at the top of the video, I don't want the pump running when we're sleeping or away from the house. I already have motion detectors spread throughout my house for other home automation purposes, so I'm going to expand the use of these to also control the Watts hot water pump. Alright, so I thought I'd take a minute to show you how I've connected this in through Stringify, and this is what's allowing the motion detectors to start and stop that water pump. So we've got the Stringify app on the phone. I know it's a little hard to see, so we're going to bring it up right here on a camera view. And within Stringify, I have 4 routines. The first one we're going to talk about is the one that turns the pump on. So as you can see, I have these 6 motion detectors, and what's happening is if any one of those motion detectors detects motion, I have a registered variable that is set to that water heater motion, and all it does is it increments the count of that variable by 1. So if 5 motion detectors are all seeing motion, then it'll put that variable count up to 5. And then from there, it's going to go over and it's going to trigger that pump to start pumping. So now we have motion and we have that pump started. The next one we have is going to do exactly the opposite of that, and that I call water heater motion stop. And essentially, again, the same thing. When any one of those motion detectors stops motion, each one will do the same thing to that variable in reverse, which is it's going to decrement that variable by 1. So we get up to 5 motion detectors, and then one of them stops, say in the bathroom, it says, hey, there's no motion. It'll pull it down to 4, 3, 2, 1, and ultimately it'll take it back down to 0. Now, once it gets down to 0, we have this next one here, which is water heater motion off. So when that variable hits 0, it's going to send a signal over to a timer. And that timer, for me, I have it waiting 30 minutes. So for 30 minutes of no motion, what it's going to do after it says 30, it's going to fire a signal, but at the same time, it's checking to make sure that there's still no motion. So variable gets to 0, wait 30 minutes. If we're still at 0, then it's going to send the signal over to that water heater controller to turn that pump off. And then what I found is sometimes Stringify variables get a little funky. Last but not least, we have this one here that's just correct, and what it says is if the value ever gets below 0, set it to 0, and that's it. So that's the logic that I'm using to use the motion detectors to control the hot water pump. So there it is, hot water waiting at the faucet and the shower whenever I need it, which will save me water. By hooking it into my smart home, I have the added bonus of not using the electricity when we're not moving around the house. It's win-win. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to click like. Over here are a couple of other videos that you might enjoy. For more reviews, tips, and DIY videos, visit azhb.com. And thanks to all of you that already follow me over on Facebook or Twitter. Both are at DIY Smart Home Guy. Until next time, cheers.